Welcome back, fellow armchair generals, and hi, Paul. How you doing? Paul, if you don't know, if you don't scroll down, he is one of the great posters for any of my series all time. Love your posts, Paul. Please keep it up. But I'm really worried now because we have 2 turns left on this current playthrough. And I'm really wondering what to do next, and maybe milking this a little bit for more time here. Not dragging it out super long, but you know. Okay, well, why do these guys have the same amount of movement here? Oh, no, do. Okay, more action points, less action points. So let's move the one with just a little bit stronger up first. Okay. Let's risk bumping into somebody. No, nobody there. Keep supplies moving up. They've done all that they can do up there. So Paul, what do you want to see next? What game would you be interested in? Do we have to keep 2 turns? Well, let's move you to here. We only have 1 action point left, so 5, that would be 4, that would be 1 action point. Let's move you down to here. Gotta be somebody on. Wait. I just can't imagine there not being somebody on the point. Okay, good. Okay, guys, where are my artillery? Okay, let's... No, can't get it close enough. Fire next turn, damn. Oh. Well, we can get aircraft down here. Maybe close enough to do something. I'm just going to use all of his action points to get to there. All of his action points. Can I get a chance to attack? I guess. Excuse me. Okay, we're going to come here and then dig in. I know we're right on the edge of Paris, but no point in attacking if we're not going to achieve anything effectively. Didn't get there. Okay, can we get there still? Yes, good. Just trying to make sure as much supplies are going to flow as practical. And then, like, I really don't think we have time to get it. I mean, this is a victory, obviously. Oh, enemy contact, and because it's just an HQ, it didn't hurt us other than our attack, but yeah. That worked fairly well. Trying to bring forces from deep back as possible and still get an attack in. Now let's undo that. Let's there we go. Don't think we can train in. I'm going to bring in new units by train. Close enough to attack next turn. Just one or two more turns and I think I would have it. Should I have pushed a little bit harder, a little bit earlier? Probably. But there's no point pushing if your forces that you're pushing with are just going to be, you know, exhausted. It just isn't, in my opinion. We'll move him forward to here, maybe. He'll come up to here. Some of these are just a bit of an exercise in moving things, but still. Well, let's not do that. Let's see how close to some action we can get this guy to help with supplies and whatnot. Okay, I think to here would be good, maybe. Let's get you up to there. No, can't. Put on rail movement. We have the point, so we might as well get you to better supply. Okay, now how close? Okay, we can't even get you. I keep moving this back a little bit to see if I can get him move forward on the rails. I don't know what the problem is right there. Oh, for stacking. See, that's stacking. How do I put this? I like I like War Plan better than I like Strategic Command, but I really like Strategic Command World War II. Both games have their strengths, but what you can do in Strategic Command is stacking better. Definitely you can put a ground unit and a air unit, like one of these, and the naval unit and multiple naval units, creating actual, a single stack fleet, which I think is better and more realistic in that the fleets are all engaging together. It's not like, oh yeah, the battleship fires and then the light cruiser fires and blah. It's all one sort of battle. So I like that better. Strategic Command can get better. I don't know what the future is for the game. I know Herbert and Bill over there. They don't particularly tell me or anything, but what the future plans are. And yes, I can keep a secret if they want to tell me and do so, but though it's generally speaking, unless they want me to help work on something with them, and I might be willing to do something like that, just as like advise or research. I don't think they know I make mods or whatnot, but and I'd be happy to, just as sort of, what does gamer think and kind of thing, and help them with something that's unannounced and that I couldn't talk about. And then I just simply say, either not say anything or just say I can't talk about what I know. So I don't know what their future plans, but they could do some of the improvements. But I totally get and totally agree with the idea of limit stacking. And definitely with the heavy artillery units in this game at the divisional scale, works a little better having them not like in War Plan, in which you take a unit like this and give it heavy artillery. Whether it just adds heavy artillery to it, or maybe it slows it down, I don't know. But this could also be seen. This is not just railway guns, because we do see railway guns in the other divisional game later. But it could be, and those are big, monstrous railway guns. I definitely can see the idea that these, sitting back a ways, not being on the front line, firing your artillery. That I definitely see as independent units as being good for this scale of game. But what I really sort of is something like this. I can't stack these two divisions here. Now, a division, to properly function, needs, and in the modern sense, which includes World War I, needs a certain amount of area to be able to deploy and to be able to use its firepower. Because if you were to, and there are places on the world map, that there could be just some slight little pass, some narrow little thing here, and if you stick a division behind it, it's almost impossible to take, because it's such a concentrated point and there's a lot of division. But it's also hard to fight out of it, because you can only deploy a few battalions of your division at any one time against the enemy. And the enemy is, even if it's like a narrow pass on one side, On the other side is a big plain. In reality, getting your division out of, if you're the one holding the narrow pass hex or whatever terrain feature, and you're trying to push out into the plain, is that they, have a full division arrayed in which, they're all putting firepower in a just like a forlorn hope, like a storming group of a castle kind of thing. So yeah, I don't want to see big doom stacks. I don't want to see stuff like that. Now I could see something like this is where you get into some stacking issues. Something like Paris, or not a town, not some of these, they're technically cities, but not large cities. One of my English friends says IKB, it's not really a city unless it has a cathedral or something like that. Yeah, however you want to define it, it doesn't necessarily need to be a huge city like Paris, but a large city. They absorb troops for defense and or attack, and it's more than just simply being outskirts. If you look at any military training, it talks about the urban battle space and the amount of troops required to either take or hold an area is just because it becomes multi-floors. And you don't have to hold all the floors to hold the buildings if you're holding the ground floor and there's no other practical way in. But still, it's just all the buildings around and shooting all the different angles. It really becomes a problem. And you can see even, in some of those cities, weren't much of a city that they were fighting in, like Fallujah or whatever in Iraq. There was something of it. But between the sewers that were somewhat no longer functional because the water wasn't functioning in the city properly, and people being able to move through them, so it's a three-dimensional space, that when the US would come in, you could easily have enemy units popping up in your rear for one reason or another, including just being able to move from building to building. And if you look at actually some of the top-down maps, some of the areas are fairly densely building populated, but others are sort of spread out a bit and whatnot. I'm just saying generically, sort of in Iraq, a lot of broad avenues and whatnot. But you need a lot of troops to clear and hold terrain, as opposed to allowing your enemy to shift to other positions within it. So, one division holding Paris is a bit unrealistic. Now, you could go, have a, core kind of a chip in it, which you stack divisions and it becomes a core. Now, one division holding, let's get a town we're a little more familiar with here. I think I need to come over here. Let's zoom in. I'm trying to see if like Bastogne is even here. I know it's in this area. I guess not, but Sedan's moderate, but not terribly big. But a lot of these places, yeah, Malbindi, where the SS killing the Americans happened at. These aren't terribly big places. Now, these are also here, at least on this, are not on the railway map, so they weren't at the time or whatever enough for the developers to give them proper railway stations and railway links. But and so bigger cities like Antwerp and Brussels are so much bigger than even Liège. So yeah, but okay. So if just game mechanics and other things make it impractical to do that, then I would have some ability for stacking, and then of course it becomes an issue of assaulting. But even out here, like, why can't I move this division here? What I would have, and I don't know how hard it is to program the AI, is just huge mouths to stacked units, is how I would do this. Because, like I say, a division takes a certain amount of area to deploy. And it's mostly linear, but not entirely. And you need some flexibility. You know, the friction in warfare is a very real thing. And friction often, you know, with all these units using, you know, what Mayu, I don't know, using this town and marching through, and traffic jams kind of thing. But there's also friction on battle spaces, you know, who's using this battle space, you know, and are you, you know, you're trying to shoot at the enemy, and are your friendly troops trying to march through the space, if you know what I mean. And so there's lots of friction in war. And so you need the idea of chips and covering a certain area of a map is a bit artificial, but is quite reasonable, in my opinion, to replicate, because, you know, you probably get to hear. Warfare. But what I would do is, like I say, have massive mouths for, and it's still a limit, you know, 2 or 3 divisions stacked in one spot. But make it so that it's even worse than if you had 1 division there. And if you stack 3, it's even, you know, or, you know, it's really bad. So you or the AI do not want to stack any units together, unless there's maybe something, you know, certain terrains like Paris, like Berlin, like, and we could Antwerp and Brussels, and we could go on and find London and whatever, you know, even cities that would only be 1 hex. Some cities might actually be sort of multiple hexes with urban things that would have something that would actually make it so it has the volume to hold more troops and properly deploy them. Yeah, but the point is for marching these units forward, you could stack them, because for the, you know, the couple of weeks that this, or this is a couple of days that this turn represents, okay, they're all sort of jumbled. They're not in a good position to defend, but these guys are sort of route marching. Oh, you know, that's really what I should. I'm just in shock that I forgot to do this. Well, thank you, fellow armchair generals and Paul, for watching this. I'm going to go back maybe a turn or 2 and replay this, because this is something I specifically don't do, because I don't want this minus 65% morale loss. But, and yes, I'm going to go back, and yes, I'm going to redo this, because I want to go back a turn or 2 to push in a little bit more. Because if I could get to here, you know, it's not just, I could get this unit to here, this one all the way here, march. Okay, well, 40% morale ain't great, but I don't know what it'll be next turn. And we could get some more units in here if we start a couple of turns ago. Because we can do what we just did here at Mayu, when we just took that, and I remember this guy. We just took this hex with some good units. We could have marched units like him past it, but there's been several of these around that I could have done that too. And it would be worth it to get to Paris. Normally, I don't think it's worth the mouths to do it. I don't know how long it's going to take, and I'm not planning on doing it with every unit everywhere, but a few select units to really push in, to really get there, but to do this effectively. So, ladies and gentlemen, yes, I'm gonna still post this, because this is just a little bit of stretching, but there's going to be a few more episodes of this series, now, because I'm going to jump back probably about 2 turns. Don't worry, I have all my old saves. I can go back and figure that out and just see where and when it's going to be better to get some forces up here. Because I really think, okay, let's see, they are, okay, they have a 96 morale. If I had 3 division, or if I had 3 hexes with divisions, if I could put 6 divisions up here, and if I could there's one of my artillery divisions. If I were to push with that, one that I haven't moved. I thought there was one more somewhere that I hadn't moved this turn. Because that one I moved, and this one I moved, and the one over here I moved back. I thought I had a third. Maybe up here? Yeah. I had 3 heavy artillery divisions, or whatever we would call them. Well, if nothing else, if I get one of these towns like near enough to it, like here, get Pontoise, I don't know, and then be able to move them in and start bombarding early enough, we might be able to take this. And I don't regret, because I know that I could be able to do that. I just don't, because I don't want to have that as a thing, as a hit, and it normally wouldn't matter. But it will matter if we do this early enough, get in next to some of these divisions. Preferably the final movements against Paris would be standard movement, but like I say, get some of the flood stuff. Okay, yep, all right. Thank you guys for watching, for liking the videos, and yep, we'll be going back and playing through this again. I got to think about extended route marches, or whatever we want to call that movement. Thank you all.